I feel more honored than I can describe to have been invited here this evening to address this branch meeting of St. Philip North, and I should like to say thanks to all of you who have bestirred yourselves to come to this meeting to hear what we have on offer. This is the first occasion on which I will be having anything to say since the morning of the 25th of May 2018, around 3:30, when I addressed the nation and conceded that the Democratic Labour Party had lost the general election. And I wished the then government well, because I said that if government does well, then Barbados does well, and we all do well. The country wanted a new government, so we were told, and it got a new government. It wanted a new prime minister, and it got a new prime minister. It wanted a prime minister who would talk, and it has one who talks nuff about everything and delivers little. And because the country was worked into a frenzy over the fact that there were a few miscreant young men misbehaving themselves, we were told that the country needed a new attorney general. Well, the country got its new attorney general. In fact, Providence answered our prayers beyond what we asked. We did not just get an attorney general, we got an eternal general. And I confidently believed that all in Barbados would be well because our prayers had been answered. But the late Sir James Tudor, whose centenary we continue to celebrate and one of the founders of this party, always used to say that very often when God wants to punish us, he answers our prayers because we're always praying for the wrong thing. And it is my sense that in spite of the fact that all of these prayers have been answered, the country is still in a state of pronounced disquiet. People are still not happy, and that has to be a cause of concern for the Democratic Labour Party. And because the new administration has not been able to get the country to settle down around a set of ideals, the refrain constantly chanted by this administration is that the past administration is responsible for this, responsible for that, responsible for the other. And it seems as though the stage is not going to be reached where the present administration accepts responsibility for what is happening in Barbados. And one of the constant refrains that we hear is that the DLP mismanaged the country And that is why we are in this position now. Now, from the 23rd of October 2010, as you heard from the Assistant Secretary of the party who introduced me this evening, I assumed responsibility for the Cabinet of Barbados. And I had with me in that cabinet a collection of able men and women who I was sure were committed to the best interests of the people of Barbados and were not interested in mismanaging any aspect of this country's political or economic life. But we've heard this thing over and over again, the lost decade, the fact that nothing happened between 2008 and 2018, and that we mismanaged the economy, and so on. And I listened to it for a while. I was optimistic enough to believe that it would have come to an end sometime, but that has not happened, and therefore I have determined to come here this evening and to confront a lot of these charges. Since independence in 1966, Barbados has had 8 prime ministers. I was the 7th. All men committed to the pursuit of the highest ideals for Barbados. But since the 24th of May 2018, Barbados has been given the impression that things happened in Barbados between 2008 and 2018 that never happened in Barbados before. In fact, there were ads going around on social media saying how great all the other leaders who preceded the 7th Prime Minister were, but somehow something went wrong on the 23rd of October 2010, and things that never happened in Barbados before all of a sudden happened. Economic indicators that we'd never seen before happened between 2008 and 2018, but particularly between 2010 and 2018, and therefore that the Democratic Labour Party stands indicted and condemned. Well, I want you to bear with me for a little while because I got to deal with that too. And I want to deal with it by saying this. Every Prime Minister of Barbados, and I'm not going to be speaking about the present Prime Minister yet, because the Greek dramatist and playwright Sophocles always reminds, you do not know or cannot know how the day was until evening time. You cannot at 9 o'clock say what kind of day the day was. You have to wait until evening time. We came to office in January 2008. In June 2008, oil prices spiraled to the point where a barrel of oil was selling for $145. It has not happened since and had never happened before. And between 2011 and 2014, to 11, to 12, to 13, to 14, a barrel of oil was costing over $100 per barrel. Never happened before and has not happened since. I hear people talking about the threat of oil prices going up now. The oil prices that are around now are child's play to the $145 per barrel that David Thompson had to deal with in June 2008, and the upwards of $100 per barrel that I had to deal with between 2011 and 2014, along with Chris Hinckley in the Ministry of Finance. That is the reality. It was the worst crisis the Western world had seen in about 100 years. And therefore, government had to be managed in such a way to take account of those realities. And what is it that we did in that period? And why can we all feel proud that the Democratic Labour Party was able to manage this country and keep it stable between 2008 and 2018? Let me just tell you this, because I talked about oil prices in June. But let me tell you something else, because you see, and just in case anybody intends to ask me afterwards why I didn't say all this before, I said all this already. And people like Steve Blackett and Dennis Lowe and Adrian Brackett and all of them said it in the House Assembly already, Chris Hinckley, we're tired of saying this. If you are now listening, thank you. But all this was said already. The Canadian government, Barbados has had a double taxation agreement with the Canadian government for over 40 years now. A double taxation agreement that basically puts Canadian businesses here invested here in Barbados in a position where if they are taxed here, if their profits are taxed here, they cannot be taxed in Canada as well. That has been the beauty of Canadians investing in Barbados because of that double taxation agreement. Barbados has never had a tax information exchange agreement with Canada, but certain other countries in the Caribbean did. Bermuda, the Bahamas, Cayman Islands, they had tax information exchange agreements. Barbados therefore enjoyed a comparative advantage and a competitive advantage over countries that only had tax information exchange agreements with Canada. Because the countries that had tax information exchange agreements, even after business people, Canadian investors, had paid taxes in those countries, Bermuda, Bahamas, Cayman Islands, and so on, when they repatriated their exempt surplus, it was taxed in Canada a second time. And the Canadian Minister of Finance in 2007 decided that he was going to level the playing field and allow countries with tax information exchange agreements to enjoy the same privileges as countries with double taxation agreements in the Caribbean. Once he did that, Barbados lost both its comparative advantage and its competitive advantage because Barbados is a low-tax jurisdiction. Our taxes in the international business sector are very, very low. But Bahamas and Bermuda and Cayman Islands, or some of them, Bermuda and Cayman Islands for sure, are no-tax jurisdictions. You don't pay taxes there at all. So, the moment that happened, our Canadian investors here began to say, well, we better leave Barbados and go to Cayman Islands or Bermuda and the Bahamas. We are going to enjoy a better time there tax-wise than we enjoy in Barbados, because we wouldn't have to pay any taxes there. Any surplus we have will not be taxed in Canada, so we'll be better off. Barbados had to spring into action. That happened in 2007. The Canadian Minister of Finance announced that in 2007. The law did not come into effect until the 1st of January 2010. But we had to spring into action because the whole international business sector was now at risk. Its existence was at risk in Barbados because this sea change in the tax arrangements could easily result in people seeing Bahamas and Bermuda and Cayman Islands as more attractive domiciles for tax purposes than Barbados, and they began to tell us so. In fact, some actually began to leave. A committee was put together with somebody from the Ministry of Finance, somebody from the Inland Revenue Department, somebody from the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's Office, somebody from the Ministry of International Business, and somebody from Invest Barbados, the Barbados Investment Promotion Corporation, to look at this issue for us quickly, because, and of course somebody from the international business community here in Barbados as well. We have to look at this issue quickly to see how we could save the international business sector, since Canada's action was threatening its entire existence. And the amount of corporate tax revenue that we were getting at the time from that international business sector made it absolutely necessary for us to buckle down and deal with the issue. Let me tell you what recommendations came before the government. The committee had to look to see who was paying the most taxes in the sector. And of course, the amount of taxes you pay would obviously depend on the amount of profits you were making. So there were certain high profit companies and there were certain middle ones and certain low ones. But the irony was that the high profit ones were not the ones that were spending the most money in the economy outside of paying taxation. So you had to do a balancing act between those who were paying a lot of taxes and those who were spending millions of dollars in the economy that was spreading through the economy and creating jobs and helping people in various sections of the society and so on. The recommendation that came before the government, on which all agreed, and we were told you have to do it urgently if you're supposed to save this sector, was that we should lower our corporate tax rate at the highest level from 1% to 0.25%, 1/4%. But you know what the tax loss was going to be? The corporate tax loss? $212 million per year. But they said it is worth losing this to save the international business sector. We cannot afford to allow this sector to die. Tourism leads, and the international business sector is second. We cannot afford to let this die. So the government of Barbados had to amend its tax laws and in the process give up $212 million per year of corporate tax revenue. Not because of anything that we did here, because of a decision taken in Canada. Now, imagine for a while a government having to do all the things that we were doing in Barbados, but with $212 million less. Got to get buses to run, got to get sanitation services provided, got to send children to school, got to pay university bills, got to make sure civil servants get paid, all those things, but with $212 million less per year. That is what we faced as a government in Barbados.